Tonight in 9 News, border scramble, swift action to isolate South Australia after 13 new COVID cases. But Victoria stays open for now. The PM and the Premier meet after a tense few months on Scott Morrison's first visit since February. A young woman found dead in her family home at Mernda. A man under guard in hospital. An entire day's trading lost as a tech glitch sends the ASX offline. Melbourne's fireworks snuffed out for New Year's, but still plenty of ways to celebrate. And Nathan Buckley opens up about Collingwood's trade week from hell.
This is 9 News with Peter Hitchener.
Good evening. Victoria has declared South Australia a COVID hotspot as the outbreak connected to hotel quarantine in Adelaide jumped to 13 cases. Other states have scrambled to shut their borders, but will remain open to our neighbour for now. Dougal Beattie reports.
There was chaos and confusion at Adelaide Airport as departing travellers attempted to flee interstate ahead of looming quarantine on arrival.
I've got no idea about what's going to happen when I get there.
13 cases of coronavirus have been recorded, the outbreak across Adelaide's north quadrupling after 3 infections were identified on Sunday.
It's a very dangerous situation that confronts us at the moment, and time is absolutely of the essence.
Authorities confirmed 2 nurses in an aged care home now have the virus and believe the infections can be traced back to hotel quarantine.
What we are facing is indeed a second wave, but we haven't got the second wave yet. We are in very, very early days.
The cluster began when a woman in her 80s tested positive on Saturday. 2 of her close contacts, a woman in her 50s and a man in his 60s, also contracted the virus. One had worked in hotel quarantine, the other is an employee at a prison.
We're not apportioning blame at the moment. What we're doing is acting very, very swiftly to get on top of this cluster as quickly as we possibly can.
Panic buying of toilet paper has already hit the supermarket shelves. From midnight, gyms will be closed and masks are to be worn in public, while more military support has been accepted.
We have to be ready for these sorts of incidents over the course of the coming year.
Today, Western Australia, Queensland, Tasmania and the Northern Territory effectively slammed the door shut. New South Wales will keep its border open, while Victoria declared South Australia a hotspot.
So it'll be a case-by-case process. When a person arrives at the airport, there'll be a sit down with them, symptoms, have you been to any specific locations? Rapid testing may be a feature of that. 17 days after Victoria recorded a case of coronavirus, the first flight from New Zealand touched down at Melbourne Airport. Emotions overflowed as families from across the Tasman were reunited, now free to catch up without the need for mandatory quarantine.
Darling. I've been stuck in Scotland for the last 8 months and it's just such an incredible feeling.
And Dougal's at the airport this evening. Dougal, passengers from South Australia are still arriving?
That's right, Pete. There's already been a couple of flights from South Australia arrive here this afternoon. The Department of Health says that authorised officers will be greeting every passenger here at Tullamarine. There'll be temperature checks and names and contact details will be taken down. Now, if the passengers arriving from an area of risk within Adelaide, they'll be asked to get tested and isolate. Now, if they refuse that test, they'll be treated as a close contact and asked to self-isolate for 14 days. Pete?
Dougal Beattie at the airport. Scott Morrison has made a whirlwind tour of Melbourne on his first visit since the early days of the pandemic. He came with a $1 billion order for locally made vaccines. Here's Brett McLeod.
At his first visit here since February,
it's great to be in Melbourne.
Scott Morrison stopped in Murrumbeena for a coffee. Somewhat appropriate given relations between Spring Street and Canberra have in recent months been bitter and grinding. But now, signs they're warming up again.
Are we best mates? You know, I don't know about that, but we work well together. We work very well together, and that's what the people of Victoria need.
There's a lot of good work for us to do together, and I look forward to catching up with him again.
After a business forum that wasn't quite a masterclass in social distancing, the main purpose of the trip, shopping.
I'm here to buy some vaccines.
Touring the Broadmeadows CSL site, manufacturing the promising AstraZeneca COVID vaccine. An $800 million purpose-built vaccine plant will be started at Tullamarine next year, which the federal government is underwriting with a $1 billion order. It'll be linked to similar facilities in the US and UK, continually producing influenza vaccines, giving a head start for any future pandemics.
This will be a really important part of the global supply network. And the fact that you're always producing allows you to quickly pivot to a different virus.
These Aussie doses here in Melbourne, that will prove to be subject to the TGA's approval, a absolute game changer.
From here, the Prime Minister goes to meet the Premier, and both men agree it's been a while since they caught up, and there's a lot to talk about.
We don't talk every day, but we talk when we need to. We'll catch up tonight. He's got a whole bunch of things he wants to talk to me about. I've got a few things I want to talk to him about.
As for any past slights between the pair, the PM at a physiotherapy clinic in Camberwell already had a lesson in recovery. Brett McLeod, 9 News.
And that meeting is continuing this evening. Political editor Chris Uhlmann joins me. Chris, there's been some tension between the two leaders in recent months.
There certainly has, Pete, and this is one of those meetings where you'd love to be a fly on the wall. Now, the Prime Minister would argue that he was not directly critical of Daniel Andrews, but his Treasurer and his Health Minister certainly were about the way the second lockdown was imposed. And the Premier will no doubt believe that they could not have attacked him without the explicit approval of Scott Morrison. So I expect there might be some uncomfortable moments this evening, but they are both practical politicians, and what they'll both want in the end is to be seen to be focused on the things that matter to Victorians, and that is their health and their livelihoods, Pete.
Chris Uhlmann reporting. Thanks, Chris. A man is tonight in custody after a young woman was found dead at a home in the city's northeast. Crime reporter Lana Murphy joins me from the scene in Mernda. Lana, what more do we know?
Pete, the victim was only 23 years old and she was murdered inside the home that she shares with her mother. Her name is Celeste Mano and her family tells me that she was a young woman with a heart of gold who spent much of her spare time volunteering after she graduated from university with a degree in criminology and psychology. She worked at a call centre in South Morang and had big dreams for a bright future. But sadly, Pete, that was all taken from her this morning just before 4 a.m. when 35-year-old man who does not live at the property attacked and killed her. It does appear that he escaped via a side fence, which is still stained with blood, before getting into a dark-coloured Peugeot and driving 2 kilometres to Mernda Police Station, where he crashed into the car park there and officers arrested him. They established a second crime scene before taking him off to hospital under police guard. And Pete, they are now probing whether that 35-year-old man is a former work colleague who had developed an infatuation for his victim. Obviously, heartbreaking news for the family and friends of her who gathered here this afternoon and navigating their new unimaginable grief. And tonight, Pete, forensic investigators remain inside the home here in Mernda as a floral tribute continues to grow on the outside.
Thank you, Lana, for that report. And an elderly woman is in hospital under police guard after the body of a 50-year-old man was found at a Greensborough home. He was located around 11:30 this morning on Palmyra Court. It's believed the woman in her 80s and the deceased knew each other. The homicide squad has launched an investigation. Hundreds of home and business owners have been warned their properties might be acquired to make way for the suburban rail loop. The Andrews government will spend $2.2 billion buying land and on early works for the project. State political reporter Andrew Lund.
Investigative drilling beside the Frankston line today for new tunnels at Cheltenham as the Premier went to Burwood to make a multi-billion-dollar down payment on his flagship 2018 election policy.
$2.2 billion, a very, very significant investment. This is no longer a concept. This is happening. This is real.
The money will go towards early works for stage 1 of the suburban rail loop, which will run from Southland Station to Clayton, Monash University, Glen Waverley, Deakin University in Burwood and Box Hill. The twin 26-kilometre-long tunnels will be served by a dedicated fleet of new trains, but it's unclear when they'll start taking passengers.
It's the ultimate headline without a deadline. And I think Victorians deserve answers to a lot of questions that they have about how much is this project going to cost, when's it going to be finished, and does it actually stack up?
A business case isn't expected until next year, but commercial development around station sites will be used to help fund the project.
It's really important that we understand early what the government's plans are, particularly around amenity design, the taxation regimes that might apply to these areas.
Early works are expected to start in 2022, creating up to 800 jobs. But today's funding also includes money for land acquisition, with tenants and owners of up to 300 homes and businesses warned they could be impacted.
There will be disruption and we'll have to work work through that.
It's envisaged the suburban rail loop will ultimately extend through to Doncaster, Broadmeadows, the airport and Werribee. Andrew Lund, 9 News.
A technology meltdown has brought the Australian Stock Exchange to a standstill. Business reporter Chris Kohler has the latest. Chris, what caused the outage?
Well, Pete, it was a software issue relating to something called combination trading that went haywire behind the scenes at the ASX today. Really, it's a tiny part of the market, but it was bad enough to pull the entire stock exchange offline all day. Nobody able to buy or sell stocks, and really no detail given until about 4:15 about what had gone wrong. This outage potentially stopping billions of dollars in trades from going through, and it comes right as the market hits a fresh 8-month high, leaving investors very frustrated.
I think today has been a ruined day and probably has certainly hurt a lot of investors that were obviously wanting to get in and out with such a good lead from Wall Street over the weekend.
Of course, this is not a good look for the Australian Stock Exchange, and they were apologetic, but this is the 5th major outage in the last 15 years. They say it should be back to normal from tomorrow's open at 10 a.m. Finally, the Australian dollar was still trading. It's buying 72.9 US cents, 61.5 euro cents, and just above 55 British pence, Pete.
That was Chris Kohler reporting. For the first time, Donald Trump has publicly acknowledged Joe Biden won the US election. But as he hit the golf course and his social media accounts, the president insisted he's not conceding. Alexis Daish has today's developments.
Donald Trump doing what he loves, golfing at his club in Virginia. His group all wearing Trump hats aboard the buggy, the president putting his phone down to tee off after some telling tweets. He won because the election was rigged. No vote watchers or observers allowed. Vote tabulated by a radical left privately owned company, Dominion, with a bad reputation and bum equipment that couldn't even qualify for Texas.
I think that's the start of an acknowledgement.
For a brief moment, the country thought he was conceding before Mr. Trump tweeted again, rigged election, we will win. And another, he only won in the eyes of the fake news media. I concede nothing. We have a long way to go. This was a rigged election.
Is the president right now in this tweet conceding this election?
No, far from it. What he's saying is more, I guess you'd call it sarcastic.
Mr. Trump's former national security advisor is now urging Republican leaders to speak up.
To explain to our voters, who are not as stupid as the Democrats think, that in fact Trump has lost the election and that his claims of election fraud are baseless.
Each state now has to make Joe Biden's victory official by certifying their election results before December 14. That's when the Electoral College meets for the final step, formalising the outcome. Plenty of time, according to Donald Trump's legal team, to successfully challenge it.
And we have proof that I can't disclose yet. He's got the best voter fraud plan in the world. Well, he has a really good one, but lucky we caught it.
The president pursuing legal fights as over 1,000 Americans die of coronavirus daily, a 50% jump in the last month.
The last time the president was physically at a task force meeting was several months ago.
President-elect Biden's first move after being declared the winner was announcing his COVID-19 advisory board. After visiting church today, he's preparing to address Americans on the economy tomorrow. In Washington, D.C., Alexis Daish, 9 News.
New Year's celebrations have been dealt a blow with the fireworks spectacular cancelled due to COVID. But as Alan Raskell reports, instead of feasting our eyes, we're being encouraged to feast at Melbourne's many eateries.
It's an annual tradition. But due to COVID, New Year's fireworks are out and a New Year street feast program is in, spanning 2 days, December 31 and January 1.
Despite the fact that the fireworks will not be going ahead, though, we are still expecting a city that is full of people celebrating.
There'll be 11 dining precincts, including Little Bourke and Little Collins Streets, ACDC and Hardware Lanes, Russell, Spring and Lonsdale Streets, Flinders and Market Lanes, Domain Road and in Docklands.
It's making it more exciting. It's giving us another opportunity to bring back the customer to the city.
Other cities, including London, have cancelled their fireworks, but the Sky Show will go ahead in Sydney with restrictions. Our gastronomical celebration, a joint effort with the Melbourne Food and Wine Festival. Tickets go on sale next Monday.
It's a one-off experience. You'll never be able to have this experience again, or maybe you will.
And all going well, we'll experience New Year fireworks again, like this young fella did, saying goodbye to 1999 and welcoming the new millennium.
The clock having struck 12, the new year here, it was time to party with celebrations 1,000 years in the making.
So when we finally get to draw a line under 2020 due to the lack of fireworks, we may not be able to see 2021 in with a bang, but we can certainly see it in with a banging good meal. Alan Roskell, 9 News.
Now looking ahead to sport, Tony Jones.
Thank you, Pete. Good evening. The trade period is over, but the Magpies are still trying to climb out of that giant hole they've dug themselves. Nathan Buckley putting his spin on things today. Ed and Woolley.
Tony, Nathan Buckley described that trade period and particularly the departure of Adam Traw as a breakup that was always going to come with trauma. But while he says it was brutal, he believes it was also necessary. More on that later in sport.
Thanks, Ed. And also coming up, Pete, a new Roo endorses Robert Harvey as a candidate for the top job at Arden Street. At the Masters, I know you were sitting up watching that for the past 4 nights. No green jacket, but the young Aussie, Cameron Smith.
That's terrific.
He was terrific, wasn't he? So he set a new record along the way. Lewis Hamilton draws level with an F1 legend, and D-Day draws nearer for the Storm skipper.
OK, thank you, Tony Jones. The former Casey mayor accused of taking bribes has returned from Egypt to face an IBAC grilling. New allegations next. Melbourne's beaches teeming with maskless revellers. And the good boy who held on tight until help floated by.
Inside Cottage 3.
It's like an 18th century asylum.
There are people in there who are suffering. South Australia's nursing home disgrace. The damning document confirming an outbreak of scabies.
If you've got a loved one in a residential aged care facility, I suggest you go and check on them.
A current affair next.
Winner takes all in the Origin Decider.
Oh my goodness!
Everything is on the line.
Daniel Tupou!
Get ready, Australia, for the biggest and most brutal battle.
You can feel it coming.
Of them all.
What a climax!
State of Origin, The Decider. Exclusively live, Wednesday on 9.
There's a glass and a half in everyone.
Hey you, the future is here. Change is here. Are you ready for it? At Deakin University, we'll make sure you're ready with progressive, real-world learning. The future belongs to the ready.
I thought my teeth were clean, but my dentist said no, they're still plaque. Switch your brush from this to one with a rounded brush head.
Oral-B is rounded to reach between teeth and gums, gently removing plaque for healthier gums. Oral-B, brush like a pro.
What can you get for Christmas at Kogan.com? You can meet Santa Claus. Santa Claus. Santa paws. Santa paws. Santa doors. Santa straws? Ugh, Santa snores. Get it quick smart at Kogan.com.
What's the key to never skipping a beat? And intelligent parking? It's the Nissan Qashqai with Apple CarPlay. The key to it all.
9 News, brought to you by the Nissan Qashqai Midnight Edition. The key to the night.
Former Casey Mayor Sam Aziz has finally fronted up to the IBAC inquiry into alleged council corruption. The councillor was accused of lying about the money he gave to a controversial property developer. Court reporter Eliza Rugg.
After taking off to Egypt for what he says was a work trip, Sam Aziz has returned to face IBAC, determined to protect his legacy at Casey Council.
One of the best local governments this country has ever seen.
The sacked councillor says it's a miracle he's alive as he recovers from emergency surgery to remove a rare cancer.
What is your current state of health, Mr Aziz?
It's still poor, Commissioner.
But there was no mercy shown to the former mayor, accused of taking almost $1 million in bribes from property developer John Woodman in exchange for favourable planning decisions. Over a 5-year period, Mr Aziz couldn't give one example of voting against Mr Woodman.
Did you ever declare a conflict in respect of any matter relating to Mr Woodman?
To the best of my recollection, no.
Previously, Mr Aziz said he invested $370,000 with John Woodman. Today, he was forced to reveal that figure is actually $600,000, but blamed the discrepancy on technicalities sorting out his divorce settlement.
Well, it's not technically not correct. It's just a blatant lie, isn't it? Can't you bring yourself to consider that?
IBAC's commissioner says he is very concerned that Sam Aziz's evidence today was totally at odds with what he told the inquiry at a private hearing last year. Mr Aziz has essentially been told to get his story straight before he returns to the witness stand tomorrow. But he's already flagged a potential problem.
My memory has been incredibly fading since my procedure.
Eliza Rugg, 9 News.
A warm night has drawn hundreds of people to our bayside beaches, many spotted without masks or properly distancing. A large number of police patrolled St Kilda and Black Rock to monitor crowd numbers. No one was arrested, but police want to speak to this woman after an officer was assaulted on St Kilda foreshore last Wednesday following a brawl between two groups. A religious treasure has gone up in flames in Turkey. The historic wooden mosque along the Bosporus Strait in Istanbul was razed to the ground. Firefighters blasted the flames with torrents of water from the land and sea, stopping the blaze from spreading to the forest behind the 17th century structure. As the festive season approaches, Christmas shopping is ramping up, but it can be hard work picking the perfect toy. Along with some old faithfuls, there are some surprising trends emerging on the must-have list. We unwrap the top toys for this year a little later in 9 News. In its 100 years, there hasn't been a tougher time for Qantas, with planes grounded and thousands of staff stood down. But today, the world's oldest airline celebrated its past and hopes of recovery for the future. Mark Burrows with the story.
For an airline that came into being just after the 1919 Spanish flu.
Happy birthday, Qantas!
It took another pandemic to dampen its 100th birthday party.
There has been no tougher year for aviation this year. 95% of the world's fleet has been grounded. Aviation has taken a massive hit that we've never seen before.
Qantas started off as a mail service in outback Queensland. 23-year-old Ivy McLean, the first female passenger in-flight service, was shared tea from a thermos. By the 30s, new planes and the flight to England took 2 weeks. In the years that followed, there were constellations and flying boats that flew to Singapore.
Welcome to the Qantas Flying Boat Base in Rose Bay, Australia's first international airport, right here on Sydney Harbour.
The jet age in Qantas gave the world business class, emergency escape slides. Its jets evacuated hundreds from Darwin after Cyclone Tracy. For 50 of those 100 years, Captain William Burns, the airline's longest-serving pilot. He's flown them all, from the 747 to the A330, and he's been everywhere.
Amsterdam, Belgrade, Rome, Paris, London, all those romantic spots.
And what he misses the most, having passengers on the flight deck.
It just made their trip. I'm sure they probably still talk about it, those that still survive us to this day.
So, some birthday party. 200 Qantas planes grounded around the world. International flights virtually now at zero. But hope is on its way. It's expected that by the end of the year, Qantas domestic will have reached between 50 and 60% capacity. This evening, 100 guests will board this Dreamliner for a 100-minute joy flight, including a low-level pass down the harbour. One of the passengers, 100-year-old Tom Sample.
But having to celebrate with all these other people here from Qantas, it's, you know, it's something I'll never forget.
A fly past for the most iconic brand in the country. Mark Burrows, 9 News.
Hope seemed lost for a Labrador stuck in a sticky spot until white knights in a boat arrived just in the nick of time. A quick pat and a helping hand was all that was needed to save the lucky pooch who'd been clinging to a balcony as floodwaters kept rising. Poor old thing. His ordeal ended in the arms of his new best friend. Lavinia's along now. Very windy again today, Lavinia.
It has been, Pete. The SES has had more than 1,000 call-outs. A thunderstorm in northeastern suburbs in the early hours of the morning whipped up gusts of almost 100 kilometres an hour. Viewbank clocked 83, and the Bureau tells us that the weather station there is quite protected, so gusts would have been much higher nearby. Geelong was hit by a gust of 89, 87 at Avalon, 83 across the bay and 80 at Moorabbin. And the windy conditions kept it extremely warm overnight. In the city, it was still 30 degrees at 4 a.m. Then the cool change arrived and it gradually bottomed out at 20.2 just after 7:30 this morning. The mercury peaked at 24.3 earlier this afternoon. The week ahead is spring at its topsy-turvy best, and I'll have all the highs and lows later in the Bulletin, Pete.
OK, thank you, Lavinia. Thousands of ripped-off Victorians are now entitled to a refund after the federal government admitted to the robo-debt debacle. Boris Johnson isolating after an MP caught COVID. We're live to London. And 4 astronauts leave Earth behind as SpaceX sends humans to space.
Sunday, it's auction day.
Australia, this is it.
On television's biggest night of the year.
It's over to you, guys. I'm in your hands.
5 incredible family homes go under the hammer.
Sold!
Who
Yes!
will
Third and final call.
win TV's biggest prize?
What just happened?
The Block Grand Finale Auction. Sunday, 7 o'clock on 9.
Not just anyone can become a police officer, but a lot of what's needed you're probably already doing. We're looking for 3,000 new recruits. If you like the sound of a great starting salary, generous leave and work-life balance, you're more suited than you might think to join Victoria Police and be a force for good. Authorised by the Victorian Government, Melbourne.
Open amazing at Lexhibition, with a 1.9% comparison rate across a selected range of Lexus vehicles. Contact your Lexus dealer today.
Bold is standing out, never blending in. It's unapologetically chunky and never thin. Bold is savoured, never swift. It's plentiful, rich, sensations ignite. Old Gold is bold in every bite.
Make a date with the State of Origin. For Wednesday's game, place a head-to-head bet, and if your team wins by 6 or more, double your winnings in bonus bets up to $50. Tab, long may we play.
Gamble responsibly.
Want to improve the appearance of scars and stretch marks? Discover Bio Oil Skincare Oil at Chemist Warehouse. #1 selling in Australia for scars and stretch marks, skincare oil may help improve the appearance of existing stretch marks caused by pregnancy, rapid weight or muscle gain by keeping skin moist and supple. Bio Oil Skincare Oil 200ml is $22.99 at Chemist Warehouse. Live, look, feel fabulous every day at Chemist Warehouse.
The latest Super Cheap Auto catalogue is out now. Clean up with an 8-piece Turtle Wax Quick and Easy Car Care Kit, $29.99. And this Bissell Spot Clean Carpet Shampooer, $199.99. Save $39.
Melbourne's sinking home scandal. Angry families blame council over a faulty stormwater pipe for destroying their houses. A current affair next.
Justice for 400,000 Australians today, with the federal government agreeing to a historic $1.2 billion settlement over its unlawful robo-debt program. It settles the biggest class action in our legal history after the automated system forced welfare recipients to prove they hadn't been overpaid. The Prime Minister says it corrects an issue that began a decade ago. The Victorian President of the Australian Medical Association has hit out at the Department of Health and Human Services on the first day of an inquiry into the state's contact tracing system. Julian Reid said it had to learn to be less defensive and fess up to its mistakes.
They have instead decided to, sort of like be very defensive and keep their imperfections to themselves. I think culturally there is a flaw in the department.
The inquiry will continue on Wednesday and a preliminary report will be given to Parliament by the end of November. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is in self-isolation after meeting with an MP who's tested positive for COVID-19. Europe correspondent Kari-Anne Greenbank is in Downing Street. Kari, how's the leader doing?
Well, Pete, Boris Johnson doesn't have any symptoms, but he was notified by his own government's contact tracing system that he would have to isolate for 14 days after a brief meeting, only 35 minutes, with one of his members of parliament who then tested positive for COVID-19. This couldn't have come at a worse time for the Prime Minister, with COVID numbers peaking again here in the UK, two of his top aides quitting and renewed Brexit negotiations with the EU. Boris Johnson released this video a short time ago.
The good news is that NHS Test and Trace is working ever more efficiently. The bad news is that they pinged me, and it doesn't matter that I've had the disease and I'm bursting with antibodies. We've got to interrupt the spread of the disease.
And as you've heard there, Boris Johnson has contracted COVID before. Back in April, he was hospitalised and spent a number of nights in intensive care. While it's still unclear whether someone could contract COVID twice in 7 months, he says he will continue working from isolation.
Kari-Anne Greenbank reporting from Downing Street. The future king has become the first in his family to attend Germany's main remembrance service on the country's National Day of Mourning. Prince Charles and Camilla made the trip to Berlin 75 years after the end of World War II. Britain is attempting to strengthen friendships with its European neighbours, weeks out from a Brexit deadline. NASA's first expedition with a privately owned spacecraft has launched into history 9 years after the last shuttle lifted off from American soil. Robert Penfold says there was an Aussie connection as 4 astronauts blasted into orbit aboard the SpaceX capsule.
It's a new beginning for America's space program and a replacement for the shuttle, a SpaceX rocket taking 4 crew members to the International Space Station.
And resilience rises.
It was a perfect nighttime launch, watched by a small crowd, including Vice President Mike Pence. And significant because now NASA is partnering with private enterprise. In this case, Tesla creator Elon Musk's SpaceX Corporation. He builds the rockets, and NASA now pays him for the ride into space.
It's been 18 years working towards this goal, so it's hard to believe that it's happened.
The pandemic has become a major threat to the project, while SpaceX tried to keep the huge engineering and flight team healthy.
I think all of us can agree that 2020 has certainly been a challenging year. Global pandemic, economic hardships, civil unrest, isolation.
The one woman on board is Shannon Walker, the wife of Australian former astronaut Andy Thomas, and he was there today to farewell her. Well on its way into space, the Falcon rockets, having done their job, dropped away, and another spectacular achievement, both floating back to land on barges off the Florida coast. In many ways, it's just the start of a new era for US space exploration. There are plans to return to the moon by 2024, and eventually human exploration on Mars. In Los Angeles, Robert Penfold, 9 News.
$1 million worth of ferry tickets are up for grabs for Victorians to explore Port Phillip Bay. Sea Road Ferries is giving away more than 38,000 tickets to reward lucky recipients for surviving lockdown with a trip between Sorrento and Queenscliff. Registration for the lottery opens online on Wednesday. An explosion in social media usage has skyrocketed cyber abuse. Next, the one piece of advice that will shock some parents. The new hits and old faithfuls that are this year's hottest toys for Christmas. And check out the sweet new names for two lolly favourites.
Melbourne's sinking home scandal. Angry families blame council over a faulty stormwater pipe for destroying their houses. A current affair next.
Let's compare health insurance. You might even save some money. Okay, I'll do it. Take the out of saving. Now's the time to compare, select and save with iSelect.
Let me be witty, let me be so ditty in every state and city. How about let you do a double take? I don't need your money, I don't need your credit. I'm a superwoman, I let you watch me fade.
If joint niggles are slowing you down, ask for Blackmore's Omega Triple Super Strength Fish Oil from Chemist Warehouse. Each capsule has 3 times the amount of omega-3 as standard fish oil 1000, so you can take just 3 capsules a day to relieve mild joint inflammation and help you get back on track. Try Blackmore's Omega Triple Super Strength Fish Oil for $33.99 from Chemist Warehouse and power better moving joints. Live, look, feel well at Chemist Warehouse.
Why do I do WW? Because I know it works.
The app's got everything you could ever need.
It tracks my food, my activity, and even my water.
Anyone can do it. If I can do it, you can do it.
Join today and get 40% off at www.com or download the app.
I love how matte surfaces in nature hold light, how they diffuse the light. Like Colorbond Steel Matte, they're strong, enduring, yet subtle in their beauty.
Got a power problem? Tell us what's happened. Connect with tradies and pick the right one to get you back in action. No drama. hipages. Change the way you tradie.
Enjoy more family time this summer. Take the night off with Hungry Jack's Family Bundle. 2 Whoppers, 2 cheeseburgers, 4 small chips, 4 drinks, 10 nuggets and sauce, only $24.95 at Hungry Jack's.
We are bushfire survivors. We know fire.
There you go. Who's in the house? It's all over.
We've experienced the worst conditions imaginable.
No!
So we know how devastating and unpredictable fire can be. And we know how important it is to plan and prepare for fire.
Authorised by the Victorian Government.
Tomorrow, she's the Queen of Country, a rolled gold legend, and Carl catches up with the extraordinary Dolly Parton.
And speaking of legends, tech god Trevor Long is here with the latest smart speakers being released just for Christmas. We'll see you from 5:30.
Social media use has skyrocketed in lockdown, and so has online abuse. Youth cyberbullying has soared by more than 30% since March, and the government's demanding action from popular platforms like Facebook and TikTok. Reid Butler has more.
For Jacqueline Rowan's young family, technology is second nature, and as her children grow up, cyber safety is front of mind.
You really just need to be able to know who they're talking to and how much time they're spending on there. It can be really overwhelming.
It's a totally different world, and that's why parents feel a bit at a loss.
While the pandemic has kept us home, we've increasingly relied on our phones. Social media use in Australia has climbed 30% this year. Newcomer TikTok has reported the biggest spike.
I know for me, I have to put limits on the time that I use on social media because I can find myself scrolling through TikTok for 3 hours at a time.
The explosion in usage has also triggered a dramatic rise in cyber abuse.
Online we can see outright aggression, people saying harsh things to one another, but also in things such as people sharing stories and rumours.
According to the government's eSafety Commission, there's been a 32% increase in youth cyberbullying since March, a 49% rise in adult cyber abuse, and a 172% climb in image-based abuse.
which is the non-consensual sharing of intimate images online.
It's led to calls for the big social media companies to act.
There's no other industry in the world that has the vast financial resources that they have. The missing ingredient, I believe, is clearly the corporate will.
The advice for victims is to always speak up, tell someone about the abuse. As for parents, they should treat their children's online world as if it were their real one, because in 2020, they're one in the same.
Also, we recommend asking a friend to back you up and help you if you're experiencing some hate, to report it for you, to stand up against it.
Reid Butler, 9 News.
Allen's Redskins and Chicos have been consigned to history, with Nestlé confirming they've been relabelled Red Ripper and Cheekies. The company says the old names were out of step with community values, but the packaging will only slightly change so lolly lovers can easily find their favourites. For anyone counting, there are 39 days until Christmas, and if you're dreading shopping, here are some ideas from the top 15 toys on this year's wish list. Sally Geit with the details.
Santa's busy making his list. Boys and girls everywhere are certainly creating their own. For the rest of us, consider this a bit of a cheat sheet.
The Bluey range has got everything from books, cups to bikes, trikes, beds and household furniture.
The cartoon blue healer is big business, and Toys R Us expects practically anything in the Bluey range to be a top seller this season. Coming in at number 2 on their gift list, an old favourite in Lego, with another throwback, electric cars on a figure-8 track, rounding out the top 3.
The Bosch Deluxe workbench, that's a big item, as well as some of the Barbie role play sets, the kitchen activity centres. They're, $60, $70, but they have a lot of value for that money, size-wise and play-wise.
At the most affordable end of the scale, $20 Paw Patrol and Frozen 2 garden sets are already proving popular. During our 2020 pandemic, the toy experts say families are changing the way they shop.
Games and toys that facilitate quality time with friends or family.
We're told classics like wooden easels and toy diggers are still in. But if you want to give the kids something flashy, these high-tech Laser X Revolution blasters are certainly hard to miss. Don't worry, there's plenty for the big kids too. For the fitness and tech fanatics, what about these Bose Frames audio sunglasses, playing your personalised soundtrack as you strut your stuff?
We've got anything from small novelty games, $10, up to $8,000 to $10,000 on a terrace TV.
Sally Geit, 9 News.
A pigeon had a European auction in a flap when it sold for an astonishing $2.6 million. The sum for the 2-year-old racing bird, called New Kim, set a world record. But how about this? The pricey pigeon only raced for 1 year before being retired. OK, I don't know any more than you do, Tony, and it's over to you.
Want to be toilet trained for that, wouldn't it? Thanks, Pete. Among our stories tonight, the fallout from Collingwood's trade period continues as Nathan Buckley now tries to set the record straight over that controversial clean-out. And one of those who was shown the door admits he does have a bit of a chip on his shoulder. Also tonight, the Masters champ, almost upstaged by a young Aussie, and Hamilton joins an F1 legend with 7 world crowns.
Melbourne's sinking home scandal. Angry families blame council over a faulty stormwater pipe for destroying their houses. A current affair next.
Welcome to Melbourne City Lexus, Melbourne's flagship state-of-the-art Lexus dealership. Experience exceptional customer service and a wide range of luxury Lexus models in our multi-level showroom. Experience amazing at Melbourne City Lexus, 501 Swanston Street.
Ooh, bold.
Bold. Wow, smooth.
Smooth.
The perfect blend of bold and smooth. Nescafe Blend 43.
And once we get this off,
whether you're working,
taking over the entire
playing, streaming,
see what I mean, Paul?
or studying,
Yeah, that's all right. We can fix it.
the best new 5G devices deserve Australia's best 5G network.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Upgrade to Australia's best 5G today.
Everyone knows Australia has 4 big banks, but the 5th biggest retail bank is regularly voted one of the most trusted brands in Australia, looks after more than 1.8 million customers and can be found in over 500 locations nationwide. So try Bendigo Bank, the better big bank.
For me, the best ham this Christmas has to be Coles award-winning Aussie ham. 100% sow stall free from farmers like Brett Edson.
Coles Beechwood smoked half-leg ham, just $9 a kilo.
Or for a real crowd pleaser, try Coles' famous crackling ham. Crackling outside, juicy ham inside.
Coles crackling ham voted product of the year, just $20 a kilo.
I believe pork that's raised better, tastes better. Coles, value the Australian way.
Wake up, kids, we've got the dreamer's disease. Age 14, we got you down on your knees. So polite, you're busy still saying please. But when the night is falling and you cannot.
Day. Night. Day. Night. What is this sorcery? A machine that can turn day into night? Madness.
Whiskers, feed their curiosity.
Why is everybody so rich? We all want these new kids to feel welcome.
You only know how Bayside works for kids like you.
Hot kids.
Privileged kids.
Privileged kids.
This place is magic.
Damn, I love magic!
The brand new series Saved by the Bell premieres November 26, only on Stan.
Get ready, Australia. Oh my goodness! For the final epic battle.
Coach's flowers!
State of Origin, the decider, Wednesday.
This sports report brought to you by Sportsbet. Combine multiple runners in the one race for bigger odds. Same race multi with Sportsbet.
The damage control continues at Collingwood, with coach Nathan Buckley admitting he and the club could have handled their trade situation better. Let's go live now to Etten Woolley at Magpie headquarters. Etten, it was I don't know, can we say a rather contrite Buckley today?
It was, Tony. He's certainly been hurt by the backlash from the Collingwood faithful. So too the deterioration of his relationship with Adam Treloar. Buckley described it as a breakup. He knew there'd be trauma, but it hasn't made it any easier. He did also admit today that the catalyst behind the discussions over Treloar's future was his partner Kim Revalliant moving to Queensland to play netball, but in the end it was all about salary cap, the Pies giving themselves more options in the future in regards to list management. While Adam Treloar's new teammates were putting in the work at the Whitten Oval, for Treloar himself, a day out of the spotlight. The focus instead very much on Collingwood and coach Nathan Buckley, who admits he did push his star out the door.
We had to. This was the time that we needed to stop pushing our pain into the future and take it all in one gulp now.
One of the sticking points for Treloar, aside from being jettisoned from a 5-year contract, a phone call in which he believed Buckley told him the senior players were saying he was no longer wanted, a claim the coach still denies.
Clearly there's something in my communication that has failed there for Adam to feel that. I understand entirely where it's come from and I needed to be better in that regard.
But amid a number of other admissions, Buckley maintained there is a brutal reality.
It's our determination that we've actually let players go that we can replace. It's our determination, with our knowledge that we've actually let players go that will not damage the fabric of our playing group.
But unfortunately for the Magpies, any proof they still stand side by side won't come until next season. Etten Woolley, 9 News.
Meanwhile, new Roo Jaden Stevenson has encouraged North Melbourne to appoint Robert Harvey as its new senior coach. It comes as the discarded Magpie lands at Arden Street with what he's described as a chip on his shoulder. Braden Ingram explains.
Touring Arden Street for the first time, Jaden Stevenson already had an eye on next season.
I'm really looking forward to the time comes when we get to play Collingwood.
While he's resolved any ill will with Nathan Buckley,
I'm sure if I run into Bucks down down the road, I'll sit down, have a chat, have a beer, whatever.
Conflicting opinions remain.
I think there's a difference between what you need to work on and being traded.
The 21-year-old, intent on showing his old team it made a major mistake.
Certainly put a little chip on my shoulder and a lot of motivation to get out there and work hard, and gone out and gotten a personal trainer. So obviously body size is something I need to work on.
Arriving in Arden Street with the club still on the hunt for its new coach, the former Pies have a vested interest in one of the leading candidates. Collingwood assistant Robert Harvey.
Love it if Harves came here. He's one of the better blokes I've met, and he's a really good person in terms of building relationships, and he also knows his footy very well.
R2 Boaston Avalangi's trade to the Roos was less bumpy, although it did require some explaining to his family of Collingwood diehards.
It took him a bit of a while to get their heads around it, but it took a bit of persuading to do, especially Mum.
Braden Ingram, 9 News.
To the golf now, and although it's American Dustin Johnson wearing the US Masters green jacket, Australia's Cameron Smith set a new record by carding 4 successive rounds in the 60s. But it still wasn't enough to reel in Johnson, who finished a staggering 20 under. Tim Avia reports.
Cameron Smith.
4 shots back in the final round, Cameron Smith needed a strong start, and he got it by birdieing holes 2 and 3.
Great shot.
A bogey on the 5th was rectified by another birdie on 7 with an all-or-nothing shot through the trees.
Oh, that is unbelievable.
Then following that up with a 9-iron from the Pine Needles to card a 3 under front 9.
He has done it again.
This could be really good.
But his run stalled with a bogey on 11, allowing Dustin Johnson to extend his lead by birdieing 3 holes on Amen Corner to finish 20 under par, 5 shots clear of Smith.
The long-awaited Masters has a long-awaited champion.
I'd take 15 under around here the rest of my career, and I might win a couple.
The historic victory reducing Johnson to tears.
Jesus. I guess I can't even talk.
Tiger Woods had trouble gathering himself on the golf course with a rare collapse on the par 3 12th.
Oh boy.
Hitting 3 balls in the water and ending up with his first ever 10 on his scorecard. While today ended in disappointment for Cameron Smith, he and the other Aussies will only have to wait 5 months for another chance at a green jacket, with the Masters set to return to its regular date in April next year. At Augusta National, Tim Avia, 9 News.
And that other Cameron Smith is edging closer to making a decision on his playing future. The Premiership captain has several options to mull over: stay with Melbourne, move to Queensland or retire. At the launch of his autobiography today, Smith teased about the next chapter.
I think over the next sort of couple of weeks I'll be able to sit down and actually have some thorough thoughts and some obviously conversations with Barb and the kids about what lies ahead for my future and our future.
Having played 430 games, Smith is ranked as one of the greatest NRL players of all time. Lewis Hamilton has claimed his 7th Formula One Drivers' Championship, drawing level with the great Michael Schumacher. Hamilton came from 6th on the grid to win the Turkish Grand Prix, sealing his place in history.
I think my whole life secretly probably have dreamt as high as this.
Meanwhile, in the MotoGP ranks, Aussie Jack Miller finished 2nd in Valencia, and although Joan Mir was 7th, the result was enough for him to clinch the world crown and celebrate in front of a virtual crowd. That's sport, Pete. But Tiger Woods 10 on the 1 hole. You'd be feeling pretty good about things.
I can identify with that, don't worry. Thank you, Tony. Time to check back with Livinia. The temperature, it's going to be up and down this week, Livinia.
I'm actually happy with the 10, personally speaking. It will be, Pete. Maximums will range from 19 to 34. We can expect one of the cooler days tomorrow, and I'll have the full forecast for you next.
Inside Cottage 3. Australia's nursing home disgrace. The damning document confirming an outbreak of scabies. A current affair next.
Why don't you come, why don't you come? The pleasure's all mine, never getting old. If you're looking for me, I'll be dancing in my own way.
I'm borrowing a car.
Introducing the new Lexus IS. With enhanced precision and control, you'll always move as one.
of running out of sparkling water? Then get this counterbalance forklift. It can carry loads of bottles so you never run out. There must be a fresher way. Get a SodaStream and make fresh sparkling water at home whenever you want. SodaStream.
Money Magazine congratulates La Trobe Financial on being awarded Non-Bank Lender of the Year. La Trobe Financial led the category in product range, innovation and loan quality. We recognise their help in ways traditional lenders don't, and that's worth reading about. Search La Trobe Financial.
Only on the My Maccas app.
Because house frames made with true core steel have a high strength to weight ratio and stay straight and true, they're an ideal choice for modern home design. To find builders using true core steel, visit truecore.com.au.
Hurry up.
Hello. Oh, milk. Ooh, carrots. Yup.
We grow 'em for Woolies.
Woolies.
Oh, would the guys like some? It's Christmas.
If you insist. Oh, come on, carrots. Now, for presents. And one more for you. Oh. Time to go. Hey, up. Be good. Sharing the spirit of Christmas. Woolworths.
Watch what I do. Watch what I do.
James Norton and Robson Green, starring the acclaimed UK drama Grantchester, tonight on Night Jam.
This festive season, it's time to turn your thoughts to the joy of giving. Click for Vic makes finding the perfect gift easy. Whether you're in Melbourne or Malakoota, our passionate makers and creators are busy bringing Victoria to you, just in time for the holidays. From craft work to cooking classes, seafood to sparkling wine, the whole state is at your fingertips. So choose Victorian, champion local, and get behind the people and businesses you love. Click for Vic and give the gift of Victoria this holiday season.
This weather report brought to you by Click for Vic. Choose Victorian, champion local, and give the gift of Victoria this holiday season.
Hello again, and it's been another gusty day around Melbourne after a very warm and uncomfortable night. We're still 30 degrees at 4 a.m, but then the cool change arrived and it dropped back to 23 an hour later. Finally dipping to 20.2 at 7:35 this morning. It went on to peak at 24.3 early this afternoon. The cool change dropped temperatures by around 10 degrees around the suburbs before the mercury started to climb again. Yarra Glen, Epping and Werribee reached 25. Ferny Creek was the coolest with a maximum of 20. The gusty winds peaked this morning with a thunderstorm in northeastern suburbs whipping up destructive winds. The SES had more than 1,000 call-outs for wind damage. Viewbank was hit by a gust of 83 kilometres an hour. South Channel Island and also Geelong recorded gusts of 89, 87 at Avalon, 83 across the bay and 80 at Moorabbin. Mount Hotham clocked the strongest gust in the state, 120 kilometres an hour. And the thunderstorms travelled through parts of Gippsland with winds of up to 91 at the Latrobe Valley. A severe weather warning is still in place for the coastal fringe just around at Wilson's Prom. The cool change has gradually moved across the state, but the far east was the last to get the cooler breezes and gave Orbost enough time to warm up to 32 degrees, the highest maximum in the state today. Malakoota wasn't far behind on 31, and the change hit the southwest yesterday afternoon, so Portland only got to 17, 19 at Hamilton. Yesterday, dry lightning strikes in the northwest triggered a few fires and some are still burning today. And although the cold front has moved out to the east, the westerlies behind it have remained strong. Tomorrow, things will calm down as the high settles above us and there'll be light winds on Wednesday as the high moves out over the Tasman, but it will be warmer and it's looking like the best day of the week. We'll climb well into the 30s on Thursday, but once again we'll be under gusty northerly winds. Tomorrow there'll be light to moderate west to southwesterlies, a little fresh along the coast. The southwest of the state is heading for the high teens and low 20s. Gippsland will be quite a bit cooler than today, heading for the low 20s, but locations north of the ranges should warm up to the mid to high 20s. It'll be a much cooler night around Melbourne with minimums around half of last night, mostly 10 and 11 degrees through the south, 9 for northern suburbs, and then maximums will be a few degrees lower than today, 19 at Rosebud and 20 to 21 elsewhere. It'll be sunny during the morning, but cloud will build from the middle of the day. The city's heading for 20 after an overnight low of 11. We start to warm up again on Wednesday, 28 and mostly sunny, up to 34 on Thursday with a few clouds around and northerly winds averaging 40 kilometres an hour. Then a change will arrive and drop the maximum back to 19 on Friday. A great start to the weekend though, sunny and 25 on Saturday, 27 with the chance of showers on Sunday, 21 with showers on Monday. But tomorrow will be a dry day and from a comfortable low of 11, it'll reach 20 under partly cloudy skies and light winds, and it'll be much easier to sleep tonight, Pete.
And that will be a good change. Thank you, Livinia. And Melbourne, that's what's news this Monday. Tracy's next with the current affair. Enjoy your evening and good night.